My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Okay, the current time is 8:03 a.m. Those are demons driving an engineer light on the inside of a parking garage. It's impossible light. Across the ceiling, that's impossible light. Last night, while the airport is stalking over the same apartment building, they were stalking with impossible light while I have multiple shadows on the ground. This is surveillance. 9JTM677 is a co-conspirator of murder and a demon-possessed person that is gang stalking, a terrorist. And it's the same. This is pacing with demon 9GQW994. This is the whole apartment building. This engineered light on the ceiling inside of that parking garage. I've been in there and documented that, both at 7 in the morning and at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's all impossible light. And it's also impossible based on the fake sun that's remaining over me. It's not even sunlight. It's the placement in a demonic environment amongst the demon-possessed that are engaged in what is stalking as a population, 8BZZ 223. This population that threatened to commit kidnapping because I'm documenting them and I'm prosecuting them. And they will be losing custody of their children. They will be deported out of the United States and they will never be coming back. And they are also going to be subject to prosecution as terrorists. They're enemies of the United States. They murder American citizens. They defame them in order to kidnap them. And they do it through the terrorist organization that, such as what Jay Sandoval represents while she communicates that threat on behalf of all the co-conspirators along with her and that terrorist organization, the Ontario Police. And as I'm at the same position I was yesterday at 215 E.C. Street, and at the same position that I am at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when this fake sun is over this apartment building that you see it of, while demons are stalking by definition, even science is going to prosecute the terrorists and the demon-possessed, is engaged in surveillance on behalf of the government. And the entity is exposed as demonic. 5X27418, and they know everything concerning your genitalia. And that's also a big hint when the airport is stalking by definition in that environment, and also that is hovering, harassing, stalking in a manner that is clear because there's no airport where you are taking off, maintaining any flights at those elevations, maintaining any landings in the same manner. And it's always going to be relevant. You will not disregard this, and you are not mentally under any circumstances, and neither will any American citizen ever be falsely depicted in such manner again. Now that gang stalking is a proven fact, no conspiracy theory, and the fact that demon possession is proven with tangible evidence, the corruption of the government. And the government are the people of the state who have remove themselves from the protections of the Constitution while they are engaged in domestic terrorism, okay? And the entity is keeping this fake sun at 8:06 a.m. At 11:33 a.m. I arrived yesterday, and this is the fake sun that's over me at this same venue, where a population's engaged in both vagina monitoring and threatening to commit kidnapping. Can you imagine that? Those terrorists are going to prison. This is P.O.C. They're feces consumers, and they're engaging in what is criminal conduct, and they are conducting themselves as though they have authority under the law. And those feces consumers include terrorists of the Ontario Police Department, and they're going to be corrected and embarrassed in federal court, okay? Where it matters. Every threatening syllable that they utter matters while they are exhibiting mental illness in circumstances like this, which is absolutely impossible, and stalkers engaged in their criminal bidding. 9RMT426, a psychopath, a vagina monitor, a threat to minor children, a co-conspirator of murder. In the same circumstance as the demon standing at the entrance at 10 a.m. The demon, Jay Sandoval, under this fake sun at 8:38 a.m. The demons remaining under this fake sun as I'm present at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Walking out and this fake sun is still here, still aimed inside of these entrance doors. This engineer light is underneath this entrance, which is impossible, into the afternoon at 10 o'clock in the morning. They're stalking, and they're stalking with light because they're monitoring. This is P.O.C., and they are monitoring in furtherance of murder. This is the pattern of conduct. The entity's engaged in surveillance on my devices. The entity's been engaged in years of obstruction of justice, like Jay Sandoval did on camera twice, and did so knowing that it's being documented. That impunity, that open communication of hatred and lawlessness, and an intent to obstruct justice and facilitate that attitude in furtherance of murder, she's going to prison, and the people of the state are going to prison. The domestic terrorists that share in that threat, especially while they're gang stalking. Every corrupt gang stalking business, such as Amazon Prime, under this fake sun, which is reflecting off of this building at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Amazon is a gang stalker. You know that while they've been terrorizing me with Amazon Prime airplanes and demons operating Amazon Prime vehicles, molesting me with impossible light, just like these puppets. Chino Care ADHC is a gang stalking business, picking up the gang stalking elders who are living under the fake sun that rises and sets right here where I'm standing. This is P.O.C. This is the fake sun moving as I move away from the Ovid Family Community Library, coming from the Ontario Airport in on November 30th. I'm arriving after 12 p.m. and this fake sun is coming in the direction and being over me at this entrance. This is a population of terrorists and their demons, and they're going to be prosecuted in an epic manner. P.O.C., it is 8:08 a.m.
College Public and Safety Health Services Program is inviting young adults interested in fire technology to
Bus number 2352, it's an African-American female. The entity is stalking by commercial plane. This is what they were doing over the Arco, over the E Street and Euclid intersection. I'm on Hope Boulevard on Route 61 at 8:18 a.m. Moreover, remember, I'm remaining at the bus stop on Euclid Avenue at 537 North Euclid Avenue. This is blatant stalking. It's also blatant and impossible light. Okay, coming through the door, refract, going backwards. That's directed light for the gang stalking purposes of demons that surround. Looking down, looking up, looking to the left. They can look wherever they want. You know what you're looking at? The direct evidence of the conspiracy to murder by the state. All right, this is P.O.C. Remember, on November 30th, when I'm aboard Route 61, an employee 3603 is terrorizing me, harassing me, which is also committed in an unspoken manner with the possible light touching your body, which is a sex offense and an act of terrorism, and it's happening on the same street, Hope Boulevard, where the sun is. That was after 12 p.m. And that's where the airport is stalking, in that specific environment with the people of the state. You can look to the left and the right. They're exhibiting mental illness, the psychopathic disorder. This is B&G Plaza. This is P.O.C. It's evidence of malice as they conspire your murder. That's what that is. And it's relevant evidence regarding the diagnosis of severe mental illness by a population of the demon-possessed. While the sun's remaining on Euclid Avenue, what is this? What is this? All right? That's what you're analyzing. Okay? And these are the demons that communicated a threat to commit kidnapping today. They're feces consumers, out of their mind. All right? This is employee number 3007. This is P.O.C. Omnitrans, Route 61, eastbound on Hope Boulevard. This is the pattern of conduct. Good morning. Hi, I'm just here to check my mail. My name's Erica Spencer.
Okay, so for which general delivery?
I'm sorry?
Is it general delivery?
Yes.
You don't have your ID?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You took out your individuals. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Thank you. 15, 16, 17. 18, 19, 20. Thank you. Let me get you this. It is 8:35 a.m. on Friday, December 5th, 2025, and the United States Postal Service are pacing demons, trying to dignify pacing with going to retrieve envelopes and stamps while the engineer light is moving at the top of the building. Absolutely demonic, and I already captured the fake sign over me. Engineer light is on the floor on the inside of the building. The entity has a fake sign in entirely different locations, such as Economy Inn at 231 South Euclid Avenue, Sunrise till Sunset, Woodside Senior Apartments, 408 West G Street, Sunrise till Sunset, Ontario Town Square, Sunrise till Sunset, and that's a whole civic center, the Ovitt Family Community Library, the Ontario Airport Inn, where I'm capturing the entity with the fake sun at 9:56 in the morning on video. Out the back window, which is an exclusive sky space facing the 10 freeway, Archibald Avenue specifically. And that's supposedly sunlight on the inside of that hotel at that time, where I also captured that fake sun after 5 p.m., comparing it to the Starbucks on Ramona and Holt in Montclair, California. Nothing? Okay. I did get a confirmation from FedEx that they delivered a package. Do you want me to show you that confirmation?
Does it tracking begin with 9? Did you address it here?
It was addressed here?
A package?
They return this to you when they receive it.
Oh.
That's your copy.
FedEx and the United States Postal Service are monitoring, by the way. And the entity is engaging in what is monitoring via plane activity. I showed that on the bus. And not only is the fake sun over the post office, but it is over the post office while it's over this post office after 3 p.m. as well. All of this is audible activity. The entity is engaged in manipulating the mail as well. So what's the difference between what you checked?
I check for mail.
Oh, so
Yeah,
I need to
say
verify.
package. You
Got
gotta let us
it.
know package too.
So you, okay. So that's not all general mail? It wouldn't be just everything under my name?
No, because we keep the package somewhere else. Mail is somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Noted. So I need to be detailed. Can I check my mail or I check for a package?
Just let them know. So if you know you got a package, say I have a package coming too.
Okay.
Now,
Now,
even though you click for the mail, it might be somewhere else for the package.
do you mind if I open it to make sure it's just...
You can, baby. I have you just open it up right there, and then if it's not whatever it is, you give it back. Okay?
Okay, I just want to make sure it's everything and that I don't have another one. You sure there's no other packages?
Just right there.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. What's your name?
Anika?
Anika, thank you, Anika. Have a good day.
You too.
I'll get right out of your way. Hold on.
You don't have to buy the tape, sir. You have tape for priority. I just did five.
I want to be clear. The entity is monitoring. That is targeting. Monitoring is synonymous with stalking. Monitoring is synonymous with surveillance. Monitoring is synonymous with demons. Monitoring is synonymous with mental illness. Monitoring is synonymous with what is targeting. So you are not ignorant about everything at this venue where you're monitoring a package or mail. Just want to be clear on that. In the same way, you are not ignorant about my presence in the bathroom when you're doing a bathroom check as an employee or as the security guard, who are all demons under the fake sun and that engineer light monitoring my vagina. Okay, so it is a means of pacing when you come back and say, oh, no mail, and you reasonably anticipate I'm going to say, well, are you sure? Because I got a confirmation, and go back. This is pacing, and this is monitoring, and this is knowledge. You know that I have something there. FedEx is monitoring, so is the United States Postal Service. Just want to clarify that for you. Dealing with psychopaths. They are pacing in and out of the United States Postal Service in impossible light activity. These are not only stalkers, these are mentally ill, demon-possessed gang stalkers who threaten to commit kidnapping. All the things that the mentally ill state and do is going to be used against them in a court of law. Everything. This is psychopathic pacing in and out. They're doing it under the fake sun. They're doing it in engineer light on the inside and on the outside of the post office. Under the fake sun at 8:40 a.m. This is P.O.C. Mental illness is shared by the population. The entire population. That's audible activity. And it's deliberate and intentional in that environment, which is following me around. You know exactly who I am and what I have to pick up, mail or package, whatever you want to call it, Satan. It's the P.O.C. And they engaged in what is harassment with an extraordinarily delayed delivery. That's intentional as well. And that's fine. These demons are playing games with their own lives. I'm going to prosecute you in court. It's all relevant to harms inflicted while you are monitoring me in furtherance of murder. And it's also no small thing. It's not a small thing. It's not just a delayed delivery. All right? It's ongoing harassment, the microaggressions of a demon-possessed population, psychologically torturing you, harassing, sexually violating you, and conspiring your murder, harassing you, and threatening you. As I'm documenting, it's not a small thing. It is relevant to the greater pattern of conduct. It is 8:41 a.m. This is P.O.C. Okay, the fat Latino male is a psychopath. He's literally using the self-serve mail drop as a means of stalking with noise. He is operating vehicle select equipment. The license plate of this demon, this co-conspirator of murder, the thousands of people that are engaged in conspiring my murder together, gang stalking me on behalf of the government, the demon possessed that keep a fake sun over you, and that's the evidence to the rest of the world that the government is targeting in furtherance of murder, and that is the explanation behind all means of what is identifying, documenting terrorism, harassment, surveillance. 03642 Apple II, select equipment, using a commercial vehicle while he is engaged in conspiracy of murder. And this is a psychopath creating noise in the engineer light. You can see the evidence. You can see the crime. NS584 handicap. Also handicap because it's a psychopath, a demon-possessed one. 7YEY490, 9EIB037, 25337T2. I documented these license. Let me get this demon. Her and her bad hair. 9A Indiana Nancy 640. All they're doing is pacing. Okay, so they want to on the surface appear normal. They're just going in and out, walking in and out of the post office, gathering mail, doing what you do in a post office. These are demons in engineer light, pacing, stalking, monitoring, using noise and light in their presence. It's mental illness, very malicious, psychopathic, sexually perverted as you analyze that. and demented, a threat to children, terrorism by immigrants, and a prosecution and furtherance of murder on behalf of gang stalking agencies that masquerade as police departments, like the Ontario Police, who commit kidnapping on reliance on these psychopaths who are stalking you ceaselessly, the vicarious arm of the government, in other words. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:47 a.m. Oh, he's the fat Latino. He's not acting by himself. They're all coming in and doing the same thing. Parking lot, walking in and out, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. This is the ability for you to see the mental illness. It's one spirit. It's Satan. He's using all of the people together. P.O.C. Why are they hovering over Chevron while I'm at the bus stop still, where the fake sun remains? Why are they doing cartwheels along Hope Boulevard if you're taking off from the airport? Southwest Airlines doesn't provide roller coaster rides. They're not supposed to, at least. I haven't seen that on the menu to take a purchase. This is Hope Boulevard, and this is pacing, psychopathic pacing, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on the roads and the highways. And it is in an environment, is a scientific impossibility. This is a covering outside. This would all be shade. Not only is it not shade, it's coming onto the inside of the building for the pacing conduct of demons who are monitoring under an object that's remaining at a different location at the same time. And it's also here after 3 p.m. This is P.O.C. at 8:51 a.m. This is psychopathic pacing in the sky space. They literally engage in a cartwheel and going back, psychopathic pacing. This is what they're doing when supposedly the sun is over me at 537 North Euclid Avenue. What is Jay Sandoval threatening to kidnap me under? She's a demon and she's going to prison. By virtue of the position, that's a demon wearing a uniform. They commit murder. They commit kidnappings. They commit threats to kidnap with the intent to obstruct justice while you're a whole feces consumer. Okay? Jay Sandoval, 19955, gang stalking, furtherance of murder with the co-conspirator Southwest Airlines and the co-conspirator the Ontario International Airport. That is not taking off here, and they're also not taking off over Euclid Avenue and E Street, which is even farther. They're also not taking off on Holt Boulevard in Montclair at El Monte and Holt Avenue, like I documented aboard Omnitrans, where that fake sun is dynamic, non-stationary. This is P.O.C. This is psychopathic stalking by a population of demons. It's a prosecution of the state of California. This is all a state-organized system, and it's demonic. P.O.C. Okay, license 44856 Charlie 4. License 9 Henry Robert David 042. License 7 Charlie Mary Zebra 946. I'm taking pictures of demons that are monitoring vagina. Monitoring vagina is relevant to not only a sex offender, not only severe demonic level, mentally depraved obsession, okay? But knowledge, okay? Monitoring my vagina is speaking to your knowledge of who I am, where I'm at, and everything that I'm doing, everything, even concerning my vagina. So this is what I'm taking pictures of. When they are under the fake sun, they are in engineered light that is never going to appear at any angle, under any circumstances, at any time of the day, at any location of the fake sun. That's not the explanation for the light that you see on the floor. So this is a supernatural environment that you have been enlightened to, and it's around you, and it's relevant to surveillance that is ongoing, monitoring demon-possessed people, the reality of Satan, who is a spirit who uses people and who is present through the environment that is a scientific impossibility, okay? So with that, this is heavy-duty stalking that they are engaged in. So it's currently, because I'm going to walk you through the images that I took. It's 8:57 a.m. So the images that I just captured, and you're going to look at the time of the, while I'm inside of the post office at 1555 East Holt Boulevard, by the way, in Ontario. And I am remaining at the bus stop, 537 North Euclid Avenue, where Jay Sandoval communicated a threat, and I sat there, documenting, under a fake sun, a population of demons stalking on Euclid Avenue. Okay? The fake sun, abrupt, about face, totally different. What are they doing on Hope Boulevard? They're stalking. And what are they who are stalking? Demons. And legally, what are they? Co-conspirators of murder, gang stalkers. And they are not private citizens. They're state actors. The government is stalking through a population. The government is stalking you 24 hours a day. You are under no circumstances a private citizen, and you're exercising no private rights. You're not engaged in private speech. You're not engaged in any protected conduct either. The government is speaking. The government is acting. The government is acting vicariously and directly. And the government is speaking in the same manner where the third parties are gang stalking with them. Jay Sandoval speaks as the entity that's going to kidnap me, and it's because I'm documenting them. Whether I stole a candy bar, by the way, I don't steal anything. I don't have to steal. My father owns everything. I don't have to steal. These demons stole from me, however, and it still is not stopping me, and it did not stop me. Okay, but I want to be clear, the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and that fake sun that is remaining on Euclid Avenue is relevant to stalking by an airport, mental illness, that monitors my vagina, enemies of the United States, and they murder people with specific knowledge of who you are and where you're at. 7P WU 937, co-conspirator of murder. Omnitrans, bus number 2354, co-conspirator of murder. Stalking where there is no plane activity when they're acting like they're taking off over the Arco and Chevron on Euclid Avenue and East Street. This is speaking to what I said. Everything you hear in the background is evidence. Everything you hear in the background is evidence. Everything you see in the environment is evidence because they're monitoring me. I've already proven that. You are analyzing now. And you will be amazed when you pay attention to what the demon-possessed do. And you won't be amazed anymore because you should not be surprised by Satan, who is a treacherous, desperate actor. Wants to be God, will never be God, not even close to God, and it's impossible. He was created by God. All things are created, including Satan, a created being. You will never be God. Ever. He's a copycat. Where the demon-possessed get that spirit of copying. It's demonic. It's very much demon possession. Okay? So I want to be clear. Copying, akin to what is stalking, following, worshiping, demonic. Words have meanings. Follow me, okay? Now, I'm talking to those of you who are listening. I'm not inviting stalking right now. I mean, follow me logically as I'm walking you through logically what the demon-possessed are doing and what the government is doing as you're prosecuting with tangible evidence. Satan is going to be in court. Okay? Satan's going by the name of Ontario Police. Satan's going by the name Jay Sandoval, number 19955. Satan's going by the name of the United States Postal Service at 1555 East Hope Boulevard in Ontario, California. Satan's going by the identification of license 7 Paul Wendy Uncle 937. Satan's going by the name of Southwest Airlines. Satan's going by the term, the name, the deceptive misnomer, and identification of Ontario International Airport. It's Satan's headquarters. They're engaged in demonic operations. Criminal activity is what manifests from those demonic operations. Federal group stalking and monitoring, gang stalking, demonic activity, monitoring an American citizen, going through the most expensive, extreme psychopathic means, using all your money and resources, time and attention, using a whole plane. That's what you heard in the background. If they're taking off at Chevron, what you see in images and videos and a fake sun, a whole elaborate scene over there that they want you to think is a natural environment and natural activity, planes are always taking off over here, okay? They're always dipping and diving and doing cartwheels over the Bethel Congregation Church and then zipping, going back in the opposite direction over the downtown Ontario luxury apartments to go back to just do it again. People are paying for that all the time from the airport to go back, okay? That's the ignorance of the entity that's surrounded with evidence. Satan that seeks to get away with it. Once you catch Satan, Satan is actually embarrassed. And what does a psychopath that is embarrassed do? They'll do more of it. Just, well, oh, okay, because they're more concerned with being embarrassed and saving themselves and it's not helping the appearance because you are looking at, you've caught them. And so now you're looking at once they're caught, the person that's catching them, it doesn't change your mind about the fact, oh, I caught you. You're in an investigation. Ah, got it. You have that fact. You've got the fact proving that they've done the wrong thing. Once you catch Satan doing the wrong thing, they are, in their minds, they're psychopaths, and they engage in delusional conduct. Delusional meaning, I'm just going to keep on doing it because I am so stuck in myself and an ego. This is a spirit that does not operate logically. They're not thinking about evidence, a case, prosecution, consequences. They're thinking about the way they look. Oh, and I tell myself as a psychopath that's demon possessed, I look like I'm not doing anything wrong because I'm going to do it again. And I'm doing it again. So that means I'm not doing anything wrong, because if I was doing something wrong, I would stop doing it immediately. And I'm not stopping it. I'm continuing it. So that way you think, because I'm controlling your mind and what you think while you think you caught me in wrong. No, you didn't catch me wrong. I'm going to continue doing what you thought was wrong, but it's not wrong because I'm still doing it. See, it's not the wrong thing because I'm doing it again and again and again. Also, the demon-possessed psychopath, the delusional psychopath, is caught doing wrong and is also embarrassed. And so I'm not embarrassed. I'm not caught. And I'm not going to be told that it's wrong, so I'm going to continue to do it. And I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to do it again. And I don't care that my family is going to be deported for it. I don't care that I'm going to be homeless because I'm not going to have a job. I don't care that nobody else is going to hire me because nobody gets a job after being convicted for this, after being even talked about having to do with anything like this. I don't care that I'm going to prison for it. I don't care that my spouse and my children are going to be separated. They're going to suffer for it. I don't care about any of that. I care about what's going on right now and how I look, and the fact that I don't like that I feel like I'm caught and I don't know what to do about that, so I'm going to keep on doing it because that makes me feel better right now, regardless of the future consequences that I'm not thinking about. I don't care about that right now. That's a psychopath. That's a psychopath that murders in order to get away with that, so they don't have to experience that feeling. A population with that disorder, by the way, with that very sophomoric, very young, childish, while you're also at the same time engaged in very serious, very diabolical, highly corrupt conduct. That's what's stalking, a whole entity of that. That's what goes around targeting other people to make itself feel better, superior. And they're none of those things. You're not superior by stalking. Who said that? That's the only thing that amazes me. Nothing about this pattern of conduct is amazing. It's absolutely idiotic. And I knew that at the outset. These are dummies. But it is gang violence. And so to prove a government wrong, you have to have your ducks in order. Even though I know that they're a bunch of ignoramuses. I know that they put turds on plates and they heat it up and they want to make it look elegant and they want to make it look cool so that everybody else consumes feces along with them. I know that, but I have to prove what I know as one person that's being targeted by all of the feces consumers. The ordinary target individual is supposed to die from the pattern of conduct. They're not supposed to live. That's not how this is designed. Whenever a government is targeting you, it's because they plan to kill you and they plan to get away with it. And they know that they will because of the identity of the stalker. It's the government themselves. This is the plot of Satan, okay? But for Christ Jesus. And what he has said will come to an end shall come to an end. Even if your ego can't handle that. Now, your ego is a reference to what is invisible, your mind, your thoughts, which manifest in your behavior. This is a spirit. That's a spirit. That's a demonic spirit. A very strong demonic spirit that results in behavior, and that's what we're doing with the law. That's what we're doing with the prosecution. We're going to prosecute your conduct. The actus reus. We're also going to analyze your mind. The mens rea, the mind behind what you've done. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going to be diagnosed appropriately. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while I'm inside of the post office. So that's what I want to preface this with. A whole different crime scene is ongoing still. It's 9:06 a.m. But while I'm inside, the entity is, because it's been an amount of time, so let me go back to the time I took the pictures. They're surrounding, stalking in anticipation of what I'm going to do. I have my package. I've unwrapped my package. I'm going to throw the trash away. The demons that are monitoring my vagina, monitoring everything, in other words, knowledge about that, coming through a specific entrance. As I go back from the trash can and go back toward where I was standing, coming in through the opposite entrance. These demons are surrounding. Very obsessive, very psychopathic, very threatening stalking conduct by a population of demons who are pacing, surrounding you. Also, what is combined with that? Oh, I'm not talking to you. I don't know you. I'm not looking at you. I'm keeping my back. That's not less threatening. That's more delusional. That is more mentally ill. That is more psychologically harmful. That is more threatening because you're crazy. You are very crazy while you're stalking. You are just stalking me, but you don't want to, because you have in your mind what it looks like when what in your mind you have, and you have all been conditioned to think the same. Somebody that is stalking someone looks a certain way and behaves a certain way and comes off a certain way. You get a certain type of air from them. That's what you're all conditioned to believe. And demons, that is Satan, knows that. And that's how the system of gang stalking is operated. First of all, I don't know you. Second of all, I'm going to act like I'm the least concerned about you. In fact, while I target you and make sure that you're in an economic state whereby I can feel as though and speak as though I'm above you, you're the last person that I'm stalking. This is what Satan does. This is what the government is doing. This is what the demon-possessed gang stalkers are seeking to approve. And by the way, they're at the same time worshiping you, worshiping my vagina, stealing my wealth, copying off of what I've created, including while I'm sleeping outside on the street. This is my creation. Off of what you're doing to me. Created it with absolutely nothing, with my mind. Okay? Glory to God. A mind that they can't take. They can't take my skill set. You can't take my abilities. You can't take that. You can't touch the Holy Spirit in me. You can't touch that. It was never going to be accomplished. And the Lord allowed it. He permitted it to a degree for a reason. It is all under him. It is all relegated to what are the purposes of God. And I always have to be clear, there is only one true God. This is not some polytheistic relative message that you can apply to whatever your religious beliefs are. Okay? I am not religious. Christ Jesus, by the way, was not religious. He was the most non-religious person ever. He conversed with the religious hypocrites who wanted attention from everybody. I'm not going to preach, but there's a distinction that he clearly made. You and all of your religion, and yet you're wicked. You do these evil things to other people, and you call yourself righteous before God. And he stood before them. And if they knew God, then they would have known him. And they didn't. And it was also evident through the way that those religious hypocrites were living their lives. Telling everybody that they're fasting. All right, going around making sure everybody can tell, oh, I'm suffering, I'm denying myself because I'm religious, I'm righteous. Okay, give me attention. While you treat those with less than you, you treat them as though they're some lesser being. What you do unto the least of these, you've done unto me. That's what the Lord Jesus said. You don't know God. You don't have his heart. You don't know him. Okay, so this is the difference between religion, and that's what I mean by that. There is only one true and living God. Only one. It is exclusive. His name is Christ Jesus, and I have to make sure that that's abundantly clear. And this is not to offend, but the truth is offensive, and I'm not going to apologize for that, because there are so many people lying, and they're trying to lie in order to get you into the place that they are headed straight for hell. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to mince words. It is a matter of your soul. It is that important. This is what this is showing you. Gang stalking, their whole existence around one person, and they want everything. They're so desperate to make it seem like you are the last person. You are so unimportant. They're worshiping me. That's the reality. They are demons. They're puppets. They're already taken over. They're bots. They're zombies. They're dead. They are already dead. So the entities engage in this. So I want to go back to where I was at. When I'm getting to vagina monitoring, yes, I'm embarrassing sex offenders. But it is also relevant to knowledge. You're monitoring my vagina, you know exactly who I am. That's why I laugh when you ask me for my identification. That's funny to me, Satan. But okay. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct while I'm inside of the post office. So the images on the Google Drive where you can see I'm pointing to things out to you. An African-American male walks in. This is criminal activity that you're able to recognize. And this is not creating paranoia. This is giving you information so that you're not ignorant. People that are stalking and monitoring and paying attention to you while they're looking down, looking to the left and right, even offending you, cussing you out, trying to make it seem like you're out of your mind, like they would ever. I would never. And you don't have to go around accusing people either. You don't have to do that. It's for you to know. Satan is real. Demon possession is real. Criminal monitoring, which is demonic activity, is real. Protect yourself and be aware. Paranoia is not of God. That's the spirit. That's not of God. It's not. And this is empowering you. It's not called, look at this. They're all stalking me. That's a position of power, of authority that they don't have. That's why you're following me. You stalked me for an hour, over an hour by helicopter? You did that for me because of what I'm saying. That's how bothered you are by what comes out of my mouth? I'm that powerful to you, huh? That's what they're stating. That's what they're conceding. They are demons. They are inferior by virtue of who they are and the authority that Christ God has, the Lord has given me. My identity in Christ, that's God given. Okay, I'm not usurping anything. I'm not like demons do. I'm not just gonna tell myself I'm a winner when I'm clearly a loser. I eat feces every day. Not like that. Your identity in Christ, it's God-given authority. God gives you a position as a child of God. Here you go, here's your seat in the winner spot. He gives it to you. You cannot earn it. Like you cannot earn salvation. He gives it to you. He's already conquered the grave. He's already conquered Satan. He already won. So this is the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct. These demons are monitoring my vagina, and they're monitoring every move. They are monitoring with regard to what you're about to do, making sure they're in the path. So when I'm inside of the post office, this is what I want to point out to you. And this is all while the fake sons remaining over me on the bus, at the bus stop yesterday, where this psychopath comes and repeats that threat at the bus stop. She comes and repeats it on camera. Oh, thank you, Satan. You're going to prison. I didn't even need it. I didn't need that. You're going to prison when I documented you gang stalking with Corey Walton at Starbucks. That was prison. You were already out of a job. If I didn't encounter you and document you, you are out of a job. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. Anyone that I have not, in other words, documented, you have not been gang stalking me conspicuously for me to document you, encounter you, conspiring my murder, you're still out of a job. You will not be in law enforcement. This is touching every single, the Ontario Police Department is no more. Moreover, you gang stalk me, I document you, I encounter you conspiring my murder, bet you're going to prison. I am not playing about that. This is terrorism. You're terrorists, and terrorists go to prison. And there will be no negotiation. And no organization is going to have any standing to represent you. No one is going to defend you. I'm telling you what's going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to federal prison. So the entities engage in this pattern of conduct, and they're engaging in that while the fake sons remaining over Euclid Avenue. So the entity that knows it's being disbanded starts stalking a helicopter. This is what I stated. This is so sad. But the entity stalking out 1511, I can't make it up, okay? These are the demon possessed. They're stalking license 15306F4, impossible light activity across the street, while the demons are stalking in a helicopter, triggered by the truth that I speak. You know what they're bothered by? Christ Jesus, who is shutting down the Ontario Police Department because Satan is not permitted to do it anymore. Satan's not permitted to do it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and for purposes of visual images and for you to laugh at Satan, I want you to see the demon stalking in a helicopter because I don't have to make up anything. Hold on. I got gloves on and I can't touch the screen. Give me a second. Okay, 9:16 a.m., you will see the entity stalking by helicopter. Jay Sandoval is going to prison. So they used gang stalking. Her audible activity that she chose to use was to threaten to engage in kidnapping, because that's what that is when you're stating that I'm going to jail, so that San Bernardino County Sheriff can kidnap with you, and so that the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court can kidnap with you. And you're doing so because you are engaged in criminal monitoring, and a terrorist in the United States presupposes that you're going to avoid federal prison for terrorism. No foreign terrorist is avoiding prison. If you live after you are responded to by the U.S. government, many of them don't even live. These are domestic terrorists, homegrown terrorists who are going to prison in the United States. The entity that is stalking by helicopter is telling on Jay Sandoval. That's how the whole body of evidence works, by the way. I didn't need them to stalk me at 1511 Hope Boulevard, but they do in conformity to the pattern of conduct. Specific knowledge of everything that I'm stating, and they did it on video for over an hour last night, and then the next morning engage in what is vocalizing a threat as an entity terrorizing, conspiring my murder, and as inferior feces consumers who are demon possessed, an inherent position of inferiority to me based on their identity in Satan and my identity in Christ. Okay? That's how you have the ability to prosecute the demon possessed government actors. Prosecution of the government. In the name of Christ Jesus, all things are possible.
Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that. So while I'm inside, it doesn't get any more foolish than that, but that's literally what Mike Lorenz just gave me. He's going to prison. All right, but like I said, I document you're out of a job, and that's why you're out of a job. All of the criminally irresponsible, all the criminal and irresponsible expenditures on surveillance that's not even mandated, not even a legitimate interest, not lawful under the state and federal constitutions, and it's inhumane because they're not just engaged in surveillance using technology, they're monitoring demons, they're spirits, they're monitoring spirits, they're psychopaths, they're vagina monitors that like to esteem themselves higher than they should because they're nothing other than demons that are monitoring your vagina, and they call themselves police chiefs and police officers. No, you're not. You're a sex offender, and your secret is out. That's why they're stalking me under the fake sun on Holt Boulevard, and they're not engaging what is flying in circles over Euclid Avenue and F Street, triggered by what it is that I'm doing on my device over there, over the bus stop. The two are not happening, but I took images of that. You'll see the black and gray helicopter flying in circles while they're engaging in that. That's the psychopathic pattern of conduct. Those are the demons that have murdered people. Those are the demons that switch on their sirens. They go speeding down the street when they know that you're getting off work, riding your skateboard, crossing the street at a particular intersection like you do all the time, maybe with your headphones on, maybe or not, maybe not. But as you cross the street, in the middle of the street, they've got their sirens on already, knowing exactly who you are and where you're at, what you're saying, just like the entity's pattern of conduct is showing you, with their sirens on, which is providing an alibi regarding ignorance, while you don't know surveillance is underway, and they run you over in the middle of the street, and the surface assessment is that they didn't know that you were there, obviously, because nobody knows that ongoing surveillance is underway, and nobody knows that they're monitoring spirits who know exactly who you are, who are even monitoring your genitalia, and they engaged in what is creating the appearance of what is an accident by the government that has legal excuse, to put loosely, because they are engaged in what is the execution of the duties of an officer responding to an emergency by virtue of using your sirens, which is actually the surveillance system in operation. The demons are at the peak of their monitoring conduct. They're engaged in light activity, audible activity, relevant positioning. They're monitoring while they have their sirens on, knowing exactly who you are, where you're at, and so is everybody that's around that skateboarder that gets hit in the middle of the street by the Los Angeles Police Department, who are documented gang stalkers, by the way, monitoring demons, stalking me with the same knowledge of the demons that are being disbanded in Ontario, California. Before I encountered Jay Sandoval gang stalking with Corey Walton, who's going to prison, she was already going to lose her job. Everybody at the Ontario Police Police Department is out of a job. I don't have to document you, but if I did, you're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. You're conspiring my murder. No terrorist that's conspiring murder and masquerading as a police officer, that's the highest threat that the government poses to you because of the authority that they're given under the Constitution, the oath that they take. That is speaking to all of the assumptions, all the legitimacy, all the discretion that is given to those government actors, the way in which we're supposed to be able to trust them. So we are not thinking that you're lying, that person didn't commit a crime and you're stating that they are, that they weren't posing a threat when you're stating that they are. We're going to believe you because why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because they're demons. And because this is actually a system of surveillance, how about bigger than that? Tangible evidence. The P.O.C. has proven to you that surveillance is underway. And that's how you're able to look at the crime scene and know what's going on the surface, okay? So when I'm inside of the post office, you're looking at this image at 8:53 a.m. in 0 seconds. An African-American male is walking in. He's walking in through that entrance based on what it is that I'm doing. And how do you know what he knows and what's inspiring him and all of that? How do you know? I'll tell you how. Because of the P.O.C. So there's foundation that's already laid. First of all, a fake sun is in an entirely different location. And it's not just there, it's there for the duration of the day. The entity is stuck with what it's already, the illusion that it's already presented. And now I'm going to prosecute based on facts. And we're going to compare the facts to what is your illusion. And we're also thereby going to prosecute and diagnose mental illness that is shared by a population. Okay, so the entity is engaging what is keeping the fake sun over the bus stop at Euclid Avenue and F Street. I'm at the bus stop, 537 at Euclid Avenue. So I don't know, I don't want to say I don't know, but I'm being facetious when I say that. What is this light that is underneath the covering? First of all, that's impossible light. And this is the level of critique that you're applying. While everybody wants to appear as it's every day, nothing's going on here, folks. I'm just going in to check my mail. And the crime scene speaks volumes, and you need to pay attention to it because it's right in front of your face. So The entity has the fake sun outside of the venue. I captured that already. You are walking in. So this is the pattern of conduct, and now you're analyzing what they're doing as they do it. This African-American male at 8:53 a.m. in operation of his device. This is federal stalking as well. He doesn't have to have his phone. They represent communication devices, whether they're holding them out or not. They represent communication devices. They are monitoring. They're creating activity. That's the significance of light, which is never naturally occurring under any circumstances. We don't have to talk about the fake sun. It is never going to appear on the inside of the building like this. Never. Secondly, as he opens the door, you'll see a stream of light that's occurring in an impossible manner in the first place while he opens and closes the door. Dynamic engineered light. And he's doing so coming through this entrance because based on what I'm doing. So at 8:53, these are vagina monitors who know who you are and what you're doing while they're stalking you. Psychopathic group stalking. Okay, so coming through what would be, let me be detailed. Hope Boulevard runs east and west. So he's coming through the west entrance, okay, at 8:53 a.m. He's walking in, monitoring, stalking in the path, anticipating that I'm going to go right to that trash can, which is that's the only trash can, and that's the closest one to me, and that's why he's walking in that entrance, and that's how you know, based on the specific environment, the pattern of conduct, and the objective, what's going on, and what their intentions are, and what they know while they're doing it, okay? I have trash in my hand. That's what I take a picture of to let you know this is a demon that's monitoring. I have trash and I'm getting ready to walk to this trash can. And they are there for crossing path purposes, getting to the pacing. All they're doing around is going in circles around me. How do you do that as a group? Traffic, pedestrian traffic, aerial surveillance, flying in a line over and over again on any side. It's called crossing path. When you're repeatedly crossing path back and forth, like on a freeway, going east and west or north and south or whatever, that's called patrolling. When you are going in a circle over and over, that's called repeatedly crossing path, that's patrolling. It's psychopathic pacing, actually. And engineer light, there's a whole nomenclature. They're engaging in an objective in the light. The objective is to make sure that they cross your path in front of you. These are psychopaths, and the spirit inside of them is a maniac. It's a Looney Tune, and it wants to make sure that in front of you, they're crossing path in front of you, and behind you, that they're crossing path behind you. They're making sure that this light, this activity is dynamic as you make any move, and that's what they do very calmly, not looking at you, not talking to you, not addressing you, not even necessarily running. They could do it in an urgent manner. That spirit inside of them is very maniacal, while they are outwardly demonstrating, and it's desperately trying to maintain what is hiding that obsession and that beast-like stalker in them, those who are demon-possessed. And so they're engaging in what is surrounding while I'm inside of this post office as you're analyzing this crime scene and what this person knows or what these people know. But this is the first one. He comes in through the west entrance, and then the next picture you'll see me at 8:53 in 10 seconds. I hold up a ball of paper because I'm getting ready to throw this trash away, and that's what is informing what he's doing, walking in as I'm getting ready to walk to the trash can. This is a stalker. This is a state actor. This is a demon-possessed person. This is a vagina monitor, and this is a psychopath. Psychopath by virtue of the criminal pattern of conduct, which is psychopathic, very disturbing, and also the psychopath is one that is engaging in this conduct and outwardly trying to demonstrate that they're not. That's also mentally ill behavior as well, very disturbing, okay? This is an entity that is in every regard bullying you in some sort of aggressive manner that is not overt. Very sick, okay? It's referred to as psychological torture. All right, so the entity's engaged in that, and he's walking through at 8:53, and this is what I'm pointing at and what I'm holding up, the ball of paper, and I'm pointing at the trash can. That's informing you about what that person is doing and what their purpose is in coming in the direction that they're coming in at the time that they're doing. It's all pursuant to stalking and monitoring, okay? So the entity is engaged in that, and he's walking to a post office. I go to the trash can. He's engaging what is pacing as he walks in to the box and walks back out. He's monitoring as I walk to that end of the post office in anticipation of that. Okay? And as I walk back toward my property, you'll see the Asian female, Latina female. She's a female with brunette hair, and nonetheless, a female in a hoodie, or is that a hoodie? A jacket? Yeah, it's a hoodie. And this is at 8:53 and 26 seconds. She is tracking my steps as I walk back toward my property from the trash can. Stalking, obsessive stalking. And your ability to look at that and witness it is the blatant contrast with what is naturally occurring, what is naturally possible, and what is actually happening. You see the covering outside, and you see the light on the counter. That's impossible light activity. And you see the light that's on the floor, on the counter and on the floor, underneath the covering. And while the sun is yesterday in an entirely different location, while it's over the bus stop, it is not even over the parking lot side. The bus stop would be behind this property. It's not over Holt Boulevard. These are diametrically opposed, complete opposite directions. Holt runs east and west. Holt Boulevard is south of F Street. So the sun, the fake sun that's over me is not even, there would be no light whatsoever with regard to what this entity is doing with this fake sun. Not only that, even the fake sun being over the venue, the sun is not in any location where it would create that light underneath that extensive covering on the counter and on the floor. This is also how you know what they're doing, what their purpose is, what their intention is, and what their knowledge is. You know all of that as you break down the crime scene. And nobody has to say a word. You can analyze it with your eyes. Okay? So the entity's engaging in this, and this is for pacing. The African-American male walks in and out to his box and back out, he's pacing. And he's doing so with knowledge that I'm going to the trash can. He's stalking. He's a psychopath. And the female is tracking my steps by walking from that west end of the parking lot to the east entrance, stalking me as I walk from the trash can back to my property, okay, at the east end of that, of the entrance area where I'm walking from my backpack, which I left on the counter, back from the trash can back. She's tracking my steps. And I show you the fake sun as I break that down. 8:54, I take a picture of that. Those are the vagina monitors that know what you're doing and conducting bathroom checks. And then conducting a second bathroom check as I document the fact that you're engaging in a bathroom check. That's the entity that's engaging in what is heavy-duty stalking, psychopathic stalking, very obsessive behavior as a whole population. That is further proving it when you're stalking in a helicopter. It's not a coincidence as I'm talking about the police department. They don't get any more idiotic than this. Now it's just, it's been stupid, but now everyone is able to see my evidence that I've had for the entire time. While this entity that's being disbanded, the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, and the people of the state have been engaged in repeatedly kidnapping me, trying to obstruct justice. Okay, and they're going to serve the penalties before God for that. This is God's message. Okay, 9DFL 746, they're going to pay the cost for that, but they're also, that's in the physical, because I'm prosecuting them. And there is a penalty under the law regarding terrorism in the United States. And in case you did not know, and they don't know the law. And why do you have such poor training by law enforcement? Because they're not police officers. That's why. Because it's not designed for law enforcement. They're not interested in that. They're engaged in surveillance, a bully system. That's why it's poor training. Because they're not protecting and serving in the way in which they're telling us that they intend to and that they are. That's why it's poor training. Because that's not the purpose in the first place. It's surveillance. And they're engaged in surveillance, which is serving and facilitating that ongoing surveillance system. That's why. Because that's not the point in the first place. This demon engaged in gang stalking at 1511 East Holt Boulevard at what is anypro.com is the United States Postal Service, who went into that parking lot to engage in pacing. Doing so, this is a psychopath. The entity does so also because they don't have any license plates. I'm going to prosecute the gang stalking postmaster. I'm going to prosecute the U.S. government. I don't need a license plate. This is an entity that still doesn't get, and they've been playing games with their lives and their identities the entire time. This is an overweight African-American female. She gets out her lumpy self out of the vehicle with number 3320598. She's accessing anypro.com at 1511, where the entity is stalking me by helicopter. That's also how you know that she's a gang stalker. The entity is engaged in this. The United States Postal Service has been engaged in what is concealing information about my property, by the way, relevant context, while USPS is gang stalking me throughout the state of California. USPS gang stalking me on the roads and the highways in LA County, San Bernardino County, that would be Orange County. Doing so while they're the same demons stalking with impossible light, stalking with amplified audible activity, stalking with the government, which the United States Postal Service represents the government, the federal government, but stalking with the government directly using helicopters and the entity as These airports are in agreements, if not directly, the cities and counties. So the airport counts as what is a state actor acting directly. The airlines are third parties, and they count as the people of the state, commercial stalking through these commercial airlines who are domestic terrorists targeting American citizens with the government, on behalf of the government, making money off of it at that. This is the capitalization of terrorism. I'm going to break that whole system down. I'm going to prosecute you for making money off of conspiring by murder. I'm going to make sure that that company is identified as a terrorist, as a vagina monitor, as one that is an enemy of the United States based on your criminal activity that you profit from, and the entity that is representing what is mental illness that needs to be addressed in this country. And changing the ability to even have access to licensure to fly planes. This is why you have that mass murder committed by U.P.S. in Kentucky. Okay, but the entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, then that's just giving you a sample of analyzing psychopathic stalking. They're all under a fake son on Hope Boulevard. 8DJH533 is a demon, co-conspirator of murder. That's why a whole fake son is over me. So all of the nasty speech that you've heard over the years on my podcast, everything that they were stating, including the entity that's doing so, the things that you've heard Tracy Banks say, while she's a whole psychopath gang stalking her own relative, she wants to be me. She's obsessed with my vagina. She's an incestuous sex offender. And this is just the raw truth. Because you need to know. You need to know the reality of what Satan does, and who Satan is, and who Satan will use. There's no exception. 7 Wendy Victor Charlie 921, co-conspirator of murder, P.O.C. And let me get this demon over here stalking on the side of the road. That noise begins as I begin walking down a street that they don't anticipate. That's a demon that's monitoring. 7UJG125. They're all engaged in surveillance. And it's already known because the fake sun's over me on Hope Boulevard. Everybody's exposed. 5NQF122. 9KWH549. Sitting on the side of the road stalking a woman. Co-conspirator of murder. The entity that's stalking by helicopter. Doing so pursuant to being triggered as I address them. Gang stalking, stalking in the path is mentally ill behavior. It's also mentally ill when you engage in surveillance of stalking women, stalking any person as a population. You take time out of your day to engage in that. You use your business and the resources of that business to try to mask it and make it look like you're doing something else. You're a psychopath. 9G23393. They do that to get away with murder, by the way. They do that to get away with murder. Okay, this is a gang stalking tow truck. Okay, the tow truck is there engaging in what is audible activity. 9UEA198. Okay, that's a vagina monitor. That's a demon-possessed person whose mother doesn't like them. They're also a demon, and that's why they're stalking another woman. License plate 1388413. A car full of Latino males with a California exempt plate. All right, license TAW6079, that's a Georgia plate on a silver and dirty Eclipse cross, a Latino male, gang stalking inside of it, keeping me under surveillance, monitoring with the rest of the demons who have what is audible activity and light activity at 1390 East Hope Boulevard. Doing so, this is group conduct, okay? And he's engaging in this in furtherance of murdering me. This is the entity that's going to be subject to absolute loss of access to children. Okay, they're engaged. They're going to be subject to deportation. Absolutely. This is how they murder people. You're not welcome in this country, and it's entirely un-American. You are an immigrant granted a privilege to be here, and it's absolutely revocable permanently upon terrorism with the government. Okay, and the entities engaging in this while they are monitoring the evidence of it. Alrighty, that's P.O.C. Those are the mentally ill stalking. Primary. License 34489D3. Airport Mobile, gang stalking. Amazon Prime, also stalking not only the plane right here at 1400 East Holt, Amazon Prime on the vehicle right here in front of me. That's not a coincidence. While Amazon Prime is a gang stalker, a sex offender, and an enemy of the United States. Bezos, a billionaire that's engaged in what is facilitating terrorism. 00432 Charlie 4. That's not a coincidence. When you're seeing the logos, this is the demonic behavior personified through the companies. As I refer to the demons, as United States Postal Service, I refer to the demons by their company names. Those demons expose themselves with knowledge, just like as I talk about the demons that are going to be disbanded and out of a job, those demons stalking in a helicopter, Ontario Police. I just want to be clear, what are you deducing from that? It's not even a deduction. What are they blatantly telling you? Bezos, The demon-possessed people of the state, the company itself. The company is treated as a person under the law. Amazon Prime, that you're giving a lot of your money to, they're a billionaire company. And they hate the United States, and they hate you, and they conspire to murder you. They target you. They keep you under surveillance. That's the purpose of that company. The side purpose is to make a lot of money, and underpay these demons at the same time while they are engaged in criminal surveillance in the United States. Entirely un-American company. It's an enemy of this country, and that company is key to keeping you under surveillance. While they're engaged in monitoring me, they're letting you know that you should be in an uproar regarding enemies that are making a lot of money, like Amazon Prime, because that's exactly what you're deducing. Amazon Prime stalking right here. Amazon Prime uses on the logo on this vehicle, 9UIR175. That's a gang stalking psychopath pacing at the intersection. And they're doing so, not coincidentally, the fake sun's over me on Hope Boulevard, okay? Jay Sandoval is stalking. It's 9:38 a.m. Jay Sandoval is stalking on video, repeating a threat to commit kidnapping. Doing so an hour after the entity is stalking by helicopter at that bus stop, as I'm capturing screenshots regarding the failed murder contract, regarding delusional and failed witchcraft. And this is speaking to the entity that has sacrificed itself. As I'm taking those screenshots that the demon-possessed are triggered by, the entity starts stalking by helicopter at Euclid Avenue and F Street. 537 North Euclid Avenue. And then this demon, Jay Sandoval, returns under that same fake sun that was there at 7 in the morning, where these demons are stalking with Amazon Prime Air. If you're taking off here, then what are you doing over Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, which is across the street from 537 North Euclid Avenue? You know that they're stalking me in furtherance of murdering me. Amazon Prime is engaged in murdering American citizens, and they proudly engage in it while it's being documented. They are not your friend. And you give them the ability to be a billionaire company. You give Bezos a lot of your money while he's engaged in terrorism. He's a terrorist leader, while a gang stalking company is profiting off of keeping all of us under surveillance and furthering a murder, in furtherance of murdering us. That's what companies in the United States, it's a capitalistic system, which is relevant to what is public corruption. Bezos isn't ignorant that demons are running his operation and making money. He's not ignorant, he's a demon. He's a billionaire, and he's engaged in criminal surveillance through this system that's underway in the United States and around the world. Around the world. Okay? This is mental illness. And how do you have that ongoing demonic synchronicity? Because Satan is operating over all of them. That's how you have that audible activity across the street at the same time that I start walking down Imperial and deviating from Hope Boulevard. This is how you have the demon and the Amazon Prime Air, where there's no takeoff, by the way, right here at the same time that the demon and an Amazon Prime vehicle are crossing paths. This is how you have what is the supernatural of the fake sun over me. Those aren't coincidences. These are the demon-possessed. They're targeting somebody, and they're targeting somebody that they knew had these spiritual abilities because they're demons. That's letting you know that they're demons as well. Okay? The entity is letting you know that they're demons while they're under a fake sun engaging in activity creation. They're demons that are engaged in targeting inside of buildings like the United States Postal Service. They're demons that are engaging in what is rising behind the building at 1400 East Hope Boulevard under the fake sun. That is, while the fake sun is in an entirely different location, which is on Euclid Avenue and F Street. That's speaking to a whole operation by the Ontario International Airport, which is going to be shut down as a threat to national security. In the same way that you see UPS crashing into buildings, killing multiple people at the same time, the Ontario International Airport is a national security threat. Engaged in what is conspiring my murder and facilitating that ongoing criminal conspiracy by stalking, and every airline is engaged in that. P.O.C. Alrighty, it's currently 9:41 a.m. These are the demons that are engaging what is the pattern of conduct, and they do so while they're engaged in the pattern of conduct with knowledge that they're being documented. That while they're engaged in surveillance and furtherance of murdering somebody, they're not secretly doing it, in other words, and they engaged in what now they're demons that are have sacrificed themselves, and that's going to have an elaborate effect in more than one manner, while the mentally ill are being diagnosed while they engage in failed and delusional means of witchcraft, which is gang stalking. Gang stalking is demonic activity. And it's also criminal conduct. That's what it is. So all I've done is broken down what is the demonic behaviors of those who are severely mentally ill and who are a threat to minor children, who are a threat to national security, especially as they are immigrants who are subject to deportation for terrorism. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently again 9:42 a.m. This is the entity that's engaging in what is that activity creation at the bus stop that the entity is stalking me at. This is the entity that's, again, co-conspirators of murder as I read their license plates. 58712Y2, co-conspirator of murder. And so is this venue, 1366 East Holt Boulevard, I.I.S. This is what they're building over here. These are the demons that are engaging the co-conspirators, of murder. 7DQH197 8 KWK 677, co-conspirators of murder. 7V DS 104, driving with their left hand signal on. That's light activity, co-conspirator of murder. It's already light activity for them to be engaged in movement under the fake sun that's over Hope Boulevard and not over Euclid Avenue at 537 or Euclid Avenue. License plate 8MYE145, P.O.C. Alrighty, it is 9:43 a.m. You are inherently inferior when you are utilizing millions and billions of people who are demon possessed as though spiritual power is a numbers game. 8YTP624 amongst the demon possessed, it is not. It is in Christ Jesus where two or more are gathered. There he is in the midst, okay? Spiritual authority amongst, but that's not so with the demon possessed. They are relegated to targeting each other. You have no authority over Christ, and specifically, he told them, you shall not touch and do no harm, and they did exactly that. You're witnessing the entity that has sacrificed itself. This is P.O.C. And this is why you have the embarrassment of the demon possessed, shown to be exactly what they are, mentally ill.
Alrighty, it is currently 9:55 a.m. So just to tell you know that there is an actual controversy to monitor you. Monitoring is demonic, i.e. this supernatural pattern of conduct that I capture everywhere, day and night. While the mentally ill psychopaths who are demon possessed, in fact, proven in an environment that is not there while they're ignorant about it. It's just there and you weren't supposed to be aware of it. And absent your evidence about it being there, the entity criminally defames you and calls you, labels you, that which you are not, paranoid, like you're hallucinating, you're imagining it, and that you are mentally ill. This is the end. While they are embarrassed, while they're caught, the demon-possessed psychopaths provide more evidence that they are also stalking you, which does not help them in court. Southwest acting like it was taking off at 1555 East Holt, outside the windows of that post office where the fake sun remained, is engaged in what is audible activity, relevant positioning, stalking over my head, while that light became dynamic. Light that's manifesting in the shade, by the way. Manifesting in the shade. Omnitrans is gang stalking. I documented the African-American male that got in the Omnitrans vehicle. And you're looking at light that's manifesting in the shade for the gang stalking purpose. Oh, he's still there. So he's monitoring with Southwest Airlines. Omnitrans is a co-conspirator of murder. This is impossible light activity. Manifesting in the shade. This is not sunlight. This is not naturally possible. And this is direct evidence where you don't have to talk to any of the mentally ill, proven through the environment, that is designed to monitor you, that is keep you under surveillance, monitor your genitalia, and then defame your character if you allege that anything close to it is happening. While they, by the way, are conspiring to kill you, steal from you, kidnap you, like the city of Ontario, the state of California, the U.S. government has done. The sound of sirens in this environment is P.O.C. This is where LAPD committed murder, knowing exactly who you are and where you're at. Even if you're in the street on a skateboard, which is not an assumption of risk. This is P.O.C. That's a vagina monitor, Ontario Fire, where I've documented the fake sunrise and set at what is Lemon and Hope Boulevard. And Omnitrans is again monitoring with the airport, and he's monitoring with the City of Ontario, Ontario Fire Department. Gang stalker, license 1730871. This is the demon-possessed person, the hazard lights in the engineer light, manifesting in the shade, flying over my head by commercial plane. There's no airport takeoffs over here. They're monitoring with the city. Omnitrans is a co-conspirator of murder fully, and I've documented that this bus line is engaged in criminal surveillance, not public transportation. And you know that because Ontario Fire and Ontario Police and Impossible Light Activity under the fake sun, where J. Sandoval 19955, the same department, stalking in the path. And the video with Jay Sandoval under the fake sun compared with her demon-possessed partner under the fake sun at two positions. And it's also going to be compared with this fake sun that's outside of the 1801 East G Street, Ontario Airport in window at 9:56 a.m. Where this is proof that the City of Ontario is stalking, the airport is stalking, engaging in what is stalking by the population and stalking by every business, including Omnitrans, which is a state actor. This is Route 61 going west. When I'm on Route 61 going west, the fake sun, as I'm on that bus, is moving, and it's not here. They're monitoring.
And they are monitoring in furtherance of murder. They're monitoring while the evidence of them monitoring is being documented, being captured. This is P.O.C. and it is evidence of mental illness. Mental illness doesn't change because you're driving a vehicle with a logo on it. Mental illness becomes legally relevant when you are operating such vehicles representing corrupt companies that are sharing in the conspiracy to murder someone, and you're doing it for profit, for the same criminal objective for which I will prosecute that business. You are not retaining any of those profits. You are equally a terrorist under a brand name and a co-conspirator of murder under a brand name, a sex offender under a brand name. And those demons that operate that business are going to be subject to that prosecution. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, while the entity is maintaining this pattern of conduct, it's 9:59 a.m. and Jay Sandoval uttered a very foolish threat that is shared by Omnitrans, shared by the people of the state, shared by the entity that's engaged in monitoring my vagina. And that's some serious criminal activity that is sexually perverted, sexually motivated, while their failed and delusional witchcraft practices have resulted in them sacrificing themselves. It's a failed murder contract, which is revealing to you criminal surveillance, a criminal surveillance system operated by the government that is engaged in what is the fullness of revealing demon possession, evident through an environment that is scientifically impossible to exist. It's also not coincidentally present. It's also not present to their ignorance. You don't have the airport deviating from what the airport would be doing, such as taking off from the airport, as opposed to stalking me at the Ovid Family Community Library, flying over the buildings over there, flying and huddling behind the Ontario Town Square amphitheater, light shooting off of me while you're driving by. That's why they're going to be deported. There's nothing to say hi to me about. She knows she's being documented. 5BHU 306. She has minor children in custody as well. The children that they engage in vagina monitoring, conspiring murder together with. While you're in that supernatural environment, you are posing a threat to those children that you will be losing custody of. This is criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder with their kids in tow. Marina's monitoring. The demon possessed, that's the psychopath. That's that ego that I was addressing on the podcast. They engage in it obviously now. They never wanted any of this to be exposed. Satan is not only going to be prosecuted, Satan is not only going to be put in prison, Satan is not only going to be put in mental asylums, Satan's going to be deported, and Satan's going to be losing custody of its children, and Satan is going to be embarrassed like it is now. That's why they're openly engaging in stalking with impossible light. Things that they never wanted to be known. It's not only known, people are laughing at you. They're not laughing at me. They're laughing at you. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, as you heard, Southwest Airlines, co-conspirator of murder, gang stalking, 9RXF257, co-conspirator of murder, gang stalking, sharing in what is monitoring in what's supposed to be an inconspicuous manner, but they are not doing anything inconspicuously. I'm exposing it. That's the purpose of my published investigation, this public investigation. You also are forced to do a public investigation when the government's trying to murder you, and then the government is the same one that will control a narrative. That is speaking to what is absolutely an urgent emergency to publish it on the internet, which is why I'm going to prosecute YouTube and the venues on the internet threatening my life while they are gang stalking companies, fully aware of what it is that I'm exposing. That's why you engaged in targeting my documentation about the sun in the sky, which is not violating any policy, nor are you violating a policy when the criminal is the government, when the criminal is engaged in what is relevant to what is the illusion of privacy and what is an ongoing threat to the life of an American citizen, which supersedes what are your so-called policies, especially when you are biased, engaged in the pattern of conduct. I will be prosecuting these entities on the venue of the internet where surveillance is underway, and they also know who you are while they're monitoring. And you engaged in violating, discriminating, gang stalking me by virtue of my intellectual property being removed under any circumstances while they're conspiring my murder. I will be prosecuting you, and you know exactly who you are. Moreover, I know who you are. I will be prosecuting you. Okay? Christ Jesus knows who you are. So you're touching what doesn't belong to you under no circumstances, and I'm going to prosecute you for it. It's coming. So the entity's engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while I'm capturing that engineer light. And that engineer light is occurring in the shade. And as you hear the simultaneous plane activity, that light activity begins swirling around. That's demonic. And it was not caused by any car that was driving by. By the way, if you didn't pay attention to that, you have to look at it. But what you hear, I said everything that you hear and see is evidence. So the entity starts sounding plane activity How is that? Where is the? In fact, are the planes taking off from? Because they're acting like they were taking. I thought they were taking off over the Arco. I'm being facetious right now. Taking over the Arco and Chevron parking lot, which is not even anywhere near over Metro 102, and you have to fly farther away from the Ontario International Airport to do that. Even though, when I was on Hope Boulevard, that's closer to the Ontario International Airport. While they are hovering as though they're taking off right there at the post office where I just came from, but yet they're still hovering over buildings and deviating, flying as I go, in other words, which would be what? North. Euclid Avenue runs north and south, Hope Boulevard runs east and west. So as I go north up Euclid Avenue, so do the planes, perpetually hovering. That is surveillance, and it is that's just analyzing their behavior, their stupid conduct that I got on video. They're dumb, okay? Not only that, their stupid conduct is occurring under the fake sun. It doesn't matter what elevation that you're at. It's relevant positioning. It's not the natural environment. You're known to be stalking. They're all stalking in that fake sun. That's why it's over me. That is supernatural. It's enough said. It's supernatural. Enough said. They're all stalkers, all of them. They're stalkers under company names, and they're stalkers that hate the United States. They're stalkers that hate you and your God-given rights. No government gives you rights. They're not God. They hate God. They're demons. That's why they hate you. They hate themselves. They hate you. That's why they violate you in ways in which you don't even know about. And they also seek to condition your mind for you to participate in it as well. And they target you if you don't fit into that, to your own demise, if you don't fit into the appearance of death, if you don't abide by death. Okay? The entity follows with the fake sun. I captured this on video this morning. I'm returning to the library where the fake sun is over me, where Jay Sandoval and her partner are on video engaged in what is conflicting behavior under a fake sun that's over me at the same time in two different locations. And they're both compared with what is the fake sun that's over me at the Ontario Airport Inn, where that agency shares a pattern of conduct with the people of the state, and they communicate a threat to commit kidnapping with the intent to obstruct justice. That's more time in prison. All right, this is P.O.C. as I'm at the Overcoming Community Library, which is the presence of surveillance inside psychopathic conduct. Everybody's in here stalking. This is the mentally ill population that do so, and they're delusional while the fake sun and all that is going on, and then you walk into the library as though it's not happening. They're all exhibiting their mental illness for the world to witness, and the entities engage in that, and the fact that everybody's living in that whole fake universe where all you're doing is stalking. And everything that you've done while you've been doing nothing other than stalking is going to be used against you in court. And you are nothing other than a feces consumer. You're bat poo crazy for doing that. And that's a fact. It's not a controversy. It's not going to be no back and forth. It's P.O.C. It's 10:07 a.m. at 215 E.C. Street. Alrighty, you do have a sex offender that's in position inside of the bathroom for purposes of vagina monitoring in the area where vaginas are routinely exposed. This is why I engineer light impossible light activity as impossible as light manifesting in the shade, as impossible as a plane taking off from Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 would be hovering over Metro 102 apartments at that elevation to be able to see even the color of the plane if you were taking off like pilots are trained to do, which is also not a controversy. It's not some relative operation that you can vacillate in and do it this way or do it that way. They're not taking off, and it's impossible that that will be included in a takeoff. And it's also impossible that the sun would be over me at this venue as I documented at 8, and as I come back to the same venue in the opposite direction along the same street at what is after 10 o'clock in the morning. And it's also impossible that it would still be here after 3, 4, 5, 6, all of which I've documented. This is indeed a vagina monitor in position on behalf of that government, including companies like Omnitrans and Amazon Prime, and the entity that is stalking and monitoring my vagina on behalf of the Ontario Police Department, who have vagina monitors in position. And they are here, by the way, the entity that's engaging what is bringing in the mentally challenged, and that is, again, on its surface supposed to be different from the mentally ill demon possessed, and they're not. The demon possessed that work for medical facilities engage in what is maintaining custody in the same way that they maintain custody of children and bring them to the venue to engage in gang stalking. They maintain custody of the mentally challenged, those with Down syndrome, those with some sort of condition where they have perhaps involuntary physical movement. Guess what the demon possessed do? They bring them here to move around in that engineer light and maintain ongoing audible activity as psychopaths who are abusing the mentally challenged. The mentally challenged aren't the ones driving themselves here. In the same way, the children aren't driving themselves here. They're not putting themselves in the way to engage in vagina monitoring. Those that are in custody of them are doing that. And that's what's coming into the bathroom, engaged in vagina monitoring, harassment, and ongoing threatening to kidnap me, and also coming into the bathroom to stalk me as I'm documenting you as an entity. That's the same entity that just placed itself in the bathroom to maintain that noise that you hear. That noise is an engineer light. That noise in engineer light is for stalking by an entity that is obsessed with my vagina. That's why they went to the extent to keep a fake sun moving through the window of a bus, stationary over me where I wait for that bus as I walk to that bus stop, stationary as I get off of that bus, and then dynamic again when I get back on that bus, and then stationary over me as I get off of that bus and then walk to this library, where I've documented that in the middle of the afternoon and into the evening, the sunset in and out of other cities, like Pomona, like Fontana, like Upland, aboard the same bus line, Omnitrans. This is an entity that's engaging in that fully exposed criminal system, both keeping my vagina under surveillance and gang stalking me in furtherance of murder at the same time, while seeking to obstruct justice, such as threatening to kidnap me. And why? Because the world knows that you're a vagina monitor, that you're not a healthy person, and that you're not a law-abiding citizen. You're not even sane, you're a demon, because you're hostile to that, and that's speaking to what's going to affect every area of your life. Loss of custody of your children, because you like to bring children around to engage in criminal activity. You like to include them in sex acts against to violate other people. You like to include them in sexually violent, sexually perverted means of criminal activity. You like to do more of it the more that it is spoken of, based on your psychopathic disorder, which in and of itself precludes you from being able to be safe around children. Your appetite for sexual violence precludes you from being able to be around children and they be safe from you. The ability to gang stalk someone is the ability to sexually violate a child and then psychologically torture them and gaslight them as though it's not happening and though it's not wrong. That's the same entity that's gang stalking, that poses a threat to children, including children that they bring into the earth. Those children are also, by the way, demon possessed. But that doesn't mean that they should be subject to that threat. That's a whole other issue. You're talking about prosecuting the people, prosecuting them for their criminal activity, prosecuting them and recognizing their mental instability. That's what's coming into the bathroom, engaging in that conduct, and doing so with full knowledge. Thought it was a good idea, knows who I am, keeping my evidence under surveillance, and still stalking. In other words, that's directly relevant to all the ways in which the entity is going to be prosecuted, including demons who are going to prison for keeping my vagina under surveillance. That is Michael Renz. It is currently 10:14 a.m. This is bathroom monitoring. P.O.C.
Are you guys doing arts and crafts? How cute. That's so cool. Nobody does that anymore. I love it. Are you from a facility or something?
We're with Anthesis.
Oh, a thesis? Is it anthesis?
Anthesis.
I thought it was antithesis one word. One time I saw it, which is a antithesis was the word I got it confused with. Isn't that ironic, right? The antithesis of the purpose. It's antithesis though, right?
Anthesis.
Anthesis. Oh, that's really nice. You guys come and spend time and do arts and crafts.
Christmas party.
Awesome. That's very cool. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Okay. Anthesis are the sex offenders engaged in vagina monitoring and then reiterating their position of facilitating sexual violence amongst the mentally challenged by coming into the restroom after listening to my documentation. Remember, everything is relevant to knowledge of the surveillance. And then coming in to use a particular sex offender that is of the male gender, because these are not men that are stalking a woman together. These are not men that are stalking in helicopters. These are not men that are engaged in what is gang stalking. Totally effeminate conduct. You need a whole team to come against a woman. Why are you interested in creating teams in the first place to go against anybody? Because they're demons and they're not men. You don't know, you're not a man also, you don't know Christ Jesus. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but it is what it is. He's the one that informs you. And if you were a man, you would not be engaged in this. Antithesis, and the reason why I use the word antithesis, because they're engaged in that which is the antithesis of what they should be doing amongst the mentally challenged, facilitating criminal conduct. The entity is indeed tracking my steps, and so are the demons of antithesis who bring in the mentally challenged, just like the mentally challenged demon-possessed parents who bring in the minors to engage in criminal monitoring. The entity is engaged in what is tracking my steps. Let me give you an example of that. The entity is engaged in what is stalking within a City of Ontario vehicle with flashing lights on at the moment that I get off the elevator. That's how detailed the surveillance is. And antithesis is bringing in the mentally challenged to engage in activity creation. And that's why I recorded that audible activity while antithesis is monitoring and this sex offender is monitoring. She walks in after the other employee engaging in what is satiating her psychopathic appetite of harming other people while being in the medical profession. By having custody of those that are mentally challenged, that is being in a position to not voice if somebody, by the way, is sexually violating them or is violating their rights, bullying them in any way, misleading them in any way. And the personality that is engaged in gang stalking is a threat to the mentally challenged in those positions, and they're also a threat to children. And the evidence of gang stalking with the mentally challenged at the Oakwood Family Community Library lets you know that antithesis is engaged in that. Antithesis is facilitating it while engaged in using arts and crafts as a means of what is criminal presence and activity creation. That psychopath walked in the bathroom with her communication device after I documented the previous commentary moments ago, and does so with a male on the phone. That's audible activity in the engineer light, and that's again a demon that's hostile because they don't like how they're being described. That's that ego. That's a demon, in other words, that's a spirit. The entity has impossible light, walls of light moving across on the inside where antithesis is here, gang stalking amongst the mentally challenged. But I want to be clear, that's just a superficial distinction, an illusion of some hierarchy amongst the demon-possessed who are mentally challenged as well. They're psychopaths, and they're violent sex offenders, and this is mental illness that is unchecked, that is undiagnosed, that's roaming around and trying to present as sanity, okay? And it's not. It's very dangerous. It's demon possession, and they commit murders. They commit all manner of egregious conduct amongst people while this secret system is underway. So it is very much that's in need of what is martial law. Okay, these are the demons, by the way, in Ontario, at the Oakwood Family Community. These are the demons that we're stalking all night long in impossible light. These are the demons that are monitoring with the Ontario police, having a field day, getting their psychopathic appetite out, stalking in helicopter for over an hour, and then they're just sitting inside of the library. Like, none of that happened. It's the same entity. They're psychopaths. Okay? Antithesis is gang stalking with those that are mentally challenged. Benjamin is the psychopath behind me, maintaining that noise of opening a wrapper. That's audible activity. Like I said, the evidence is everything you're listening to, including my voice, which is used to monitor me. But you're listening to me while you're listening to the demons that are surrounding with activity. Okay? The demons that are under a fake sun, the fake sun that was already over the entrance as I was walking by this venue at 8 o'clock is over the same entrance now, where antithesis is engaged in criminal activity. literally that conversation is audible noise, but I did that because I want you to hear the presentation of a psychopath, a co-conspirator of murder who's in custody of the mentally challenged, whom they are including in criminal activity that's in furtherance of murdering someone. Psychological torture is underway, including through that conversation. You will want to appear as one thing and you're engaging in something totally different. It's even antithetical to your purpose and what you want to present as and what you're supposed to be doing and the purposes that you're supposed to uphold while you are in that, literally that profession. Okay, you have the demon possessed in the medical field, you have the demon possessed in the legal field, you have the demon possessed in law enforcement, you have the demon possessed in places that are a threat to the public, such as public transportation and interstate traveling, such as the commercial planes, these airlines pilots, and also literally the psychopaths that are on the roads and the highways, but that perhaps is, something that's so much of an uncontrollable factor. Millions of people that are on the roads and the highways, and but it is with regard to knowledge. Psychopaths that go around murdering people because they have an impulse to do so. It wasn't a car accident, But that's not going to be voice. You have people that hate themselves and they do that. And that's what's gang stalking. And that's what's working for Anthesis. And that's what walked into the bathroom with a communication device and a mail on speaker to just pace in and out, doing so after listening to my commentary, the truth. The demon-possessed parents don't like to hear the truth either. The demon-possessed police department doesn't like to hear it either. All right? The demon-possessed librarians are frustrated by it as well. The demon-possessed vagina monitors. So while I document vagina monitoring, the entity engages in more of it. That's what Dylan's purpose is last night. That's what this Anthesis employee is engaging in today. And that's exactly what they are. And by the way, it doesn't change, and it's also not helping a federal case. You're going to be in court facing these charges. You're going to be crying about losing those checks, because that's all your children represent to you is checks, money, and appearance, and illusion. All right? And the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct with impunity because they are what they're being exposed as. So, in other words, when I speak to the entity that's engaged in vagina monitoring and they engage in that, I also talk about the fact that these are pedophiles who have sex with children and they like to follow my lead doing what it is that I say. That's the threat behind that. So I'm going to let that sink in. This is the entity that's engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct and engages in more of it out of hostility. Who are you hurting? I'm prosecuting you. You're delusional. And you're going to be subject to what is necessary as a matter of justice, removing them from every circumstance and every area where they pose a threat to the American citizen that is unsuspecting. This is P.O.C. It's 10:34 a.m. and that is bathroom monitoring by Anthesis, engaging in what is antithetical to the purpose for which they exercise custody over those that cannot properly function without assistance. It's not to be included in gang stalking and vagina monitoring, or you engaging in that. They are engaging in it because they're engaged in through activity creation by virtue of bringing them here. So you have to get your sexually perverted fixation, and while then you go back to the table and help all the mentally challenged. You're delusional. You're as mentally challenged. You're no different, by the way. You are more of a predator. That's exactly what needs to be removed from the medical field. It's currently 10:35 a.m. This is P.O.C. Okay, the demons that have openly admitted that they're stalking me, and that open admission to stalking is evident through the specific environment that they are engaging in on video. Remember, the whole purpose of this stalking conduct is that it's supposed to be made up in the mind of that target individual, and then the demons of the Ontario Police Department are supposed to be able to put on paper, this isn't happening. This person is disturbed. And this is what I observed, and this is why we've made this arrest under this section of Section 5150, because this person is in need of this medical attention based on my observations and the statements of the people of the state, who state that the targeted individual has X, Y, and Z and is in need of this medical attention. Okay? The entity's not engaging in that. They're blatantly stalking as a police department.
That which you're supposed to be imagining, and nobody's imagining that. Nobody imagined the 1+ hours of flying in circles over me either at 537 North Euclid Avenue. Nobody imagined that. Nobody is imagining Jay Sandoval stalking under the fake sun, because that's what it is, while she is at 9:55 a.m. And as I just stay there, it's still there, not only at 7:47 a.m. before she's threatening my liberty and my life, and then it's still there after 12 p.m. In fact, it's there after 6 p.m. where Southwest Airlines is sharing that criminal pattern of conduct, again caught stalking in a manner irreconcilable with anything having to do with taking off from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 in that supernatural environment, which is not an ongoing coincidence. It is clinically referred to as the pattern of conduct, where they are obviously stalking and communicating threats while stalking. The entities engaging in that pattern of conduct, while they're just overtly admitting and in forfeiting any sort of legitimacy about anybody making up anything about them. They've totally forfeited that, and with regard to that embarrassing, abysmal loss, they are engaging in that conduct. So inside of the Ovid Family Community Library, the entity is engaged in what is just blatant acts of harassment, and it's the reason why it's blatant. It's all blatant, but you have to prove. Okay, and that's fine. The entity's playing a game, and guess what? They lost that game. So while the entity's engaging in that pattern of conduct, the entity just has engineer lights flying all across the walls, while these demons are openly engaging in that which they were supposed to win at. Everybody's acting like it's not happening, and everybody's just minding their business, and it's only in the mind of you, and we're all beating you at the game inside of at a game we're playing in your mind, and you'll never be able to prove anything, and nothing is happening, and it's all none of that is happening. They lost, and they've been embarrassed by what they've been doing. And so now the entity just has impossible light just all over the walls inside of the venue while they're all sitting here. They're all sitting at the table acting like they're concerned with a conversation. They're going back and forth to the copy machine, putting quarters in, which is the activity occasion, while they're stalking in the path, while engineer light, walls of light moving all across, just like you've seen inside of my hotel rooms, just like you've seen inside of Starbucks, just like you see on aboard Omnitrans, just like you see on the sidewalk and on the walls outside when they're stalking outside. It's not their headlights, and it's not sunlight. And that's what they're doing inside. Okay, and the entity's doing that because they are overtly engaging in that which was supposed to be maintained and kept a secret and used to defame another person that they've conspired to murder. Okay, the witches and the demons and the stalkers, that is the mentally ill, are properly and correctly identified while they're engaging in that. This is inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. Okay, the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct overtly based on their criminal system, which is already proven, and I just want to document that. While the entity maintains an overtly terrorizing environment, you've already conceded that you're going to prison, and you are. You are. So those door closures, it's while the entity has impossible light flying about. All right, the ongoing help. Can I get some help, please? I need some help on computer number 3. It's while the impossible light activity is flying all over the walls. Okay, while the children are running around having a ball, the greatest time of their life with their demon-possessed parents. It's while the impossible light activity is flying all over the walls inside of the room. While the entity is pushing around bookcases, book carts, stocking books and walking around and having important conversations and meetings in this room and in that room. It's while the impossible light activity is flying all across the wall. All right, while their communication devices are in use, it's while impossible light activity is flying all across the wall. While the demon-possessed are pacing in relevant position outside at the C Street turn circle, it's while impossible light activity is flying all around inside, all over the walls. While they are exposing the fact that they are maniacal psychopaths who engage in a very severely deranged system of targeting an American citizen, psychologically torturing them and sexually violating them corporately, which they derive pleasure from, and they're hostile to the fact of that being exposed. It's while engineer light is flying all across, all over the walls. Monitoring. P.O.C. It's 10:42 a.m. I just wanted to include that detail. 215 East C Street at the Ovid Family Community Library. Remember, I did not arrive until 11:33 a.m. where everybody's in here having coking and joking on the phone while I'm conversing with the demon of antithesis while they're stalking in the bathroom. Because that's what that is by definition when the sun is in a position that it could not possibly be in, because the sun does not just engage in willy-nilly inconsistent conduct. Well, where's the sun going to be at tomorrow? What's the sun going to do in an hour? What direction is it going to go now? What's going to happen? That's not the sun. That's not the natural environment. The entities engaged in this while impossible light is flying about all over the walls on the inside, and I'm not even here yet yesterday. And the day before that, I'm still not here until after 12. This is while impossible light activity is flying all about all over the walls. That's what you're mindful of when demons are, I need help over here. They're pacing. They're pacing. And they're monitoring. This is P.O.C. It's 10:43 a.m. Alrighty, the triggered sex offenders and pedophiles and abusive mental health workers, the vagina monitors in general are triggered, and when they are being openly and honestly exposed, and that's not just critical commentary that's relevant for a federal prosecution, but indeed the triggered sex offenders engage in more of that sexual violence. And so these are the demons that are slinging light, stalking as a population under a fake sun that's still over the same entrance that it was at 8 o'clock in the morning, are stalking in the bathroom. And they do so while they are sex offenders who have the, again, severe level of instability to be offended. And I'm speaking from documentation that extends years back of sex offenders engaging in more harassment and terrorism, sexually motivated, as I document them. And that's exactly what's crouching in the adjacent bathroom stall, engaged in what is vagina monitoring. Sex offender walks into the entrance in engineer light as I walk out the front door, doing so under the fake sun while a sex offender is parked at the C Street turn circle as I walk out the front door. All of the sex offenders are engaged in vagina monitoring together under a fake sun, doing so pursuant to that pattern of conduct of engaging in what is in fact vagina monitoring. This vagina monitor is license 9S CZ 967. This is a male operating a black GMC vehicle. 2 females are with a sex offender of the male gender while they are themselves engaged in homosexual predatory conduct, vagina monitoring on behalf of the government at the Ovid Family Community Library that has the same fake sun at the entrance. And that's what I'm capturing images of. And that's what's in the bathroom stall inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. They're walking in an engineer in light, walking in and out of the library. They're pacing around me at the computer station number 1. All they're doing is stalking. Every moment that they make a move or make any sound is pursuant to what I'm doing, including what I'm doing concerning my vagina. And triggered sex offenders who abuse the mentally ill. The entity is gang stalking by United States Postal Service. The same predator that I've gotten before. Hold on, taking pictures of my own stuff. Hold on. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct while USPS is engaged in what is being triggered. Remember, this is about what is surveillance that's already established. So every person, every type of gang stalker is relevant to what I talk about. Okay? That's why you have the United States Postal Service, already a documented sex offender, engaging what is gang stalking, coming into the bathrooms, coming into the venue, while a sex offender crouches in an adjacent stall to engage in what is, again, this is supposed to be some retaliatory means. It's only significant to the demons who know that who know that inside of their sick minds, they're harboring animosity regarding what it is that I'm speaking. Remember, slamming the doors of the administration door while a demon that's engaged in what is stalking me with the Ontario police, one that is engaged in what is physically assaulting me, one that's engaged in stealing my property, somebody that's engaged in some sort of harm while they share in the elements of monitoring together. It's only significant to the psychopaths, the demon-possessed that are gang stalking. This is their failed witchcraft. It's nothing other than mentally ill obsessive conduct for which they're going to be prosecuted. They're all stalking. And they're all mentally ill stalkers, and they're all conspiring murder together while they are focused on, oh, I'm angry that you documented and you said this about the United States Postal Service, so I'm going to go into the bathroom while another demon goes and monitors your vagina, which you would be triggered about while I'm in the building. That's what United States Postal Service is doing, vagina monitoring, and they're doing so. It's not a coincidence that I went to the United States Postal Service. I documented that. And that I made all the true statements that I did about the United States Postal Service, who is the federal government engaged in vagina monitoring. That's exactly what they're doing. Like I stated, these are the ones that are going to be subject to federal prosecution, deportation, the severance of the ability to be alone with children, to exercise custody over children. The entities engage in what is follow the leader. So when the leader describes the fact that you're a sex offender, i.e. 5 Thomas George Bob 362, a demon engaged in vagina monitoring, co-conspirator of murder under the fake sun at the Ovid Family Community Library, where the demon, Jay Sandoval, badge number 19955, is at this same venue at 8:39 in the morning, centering their attention around the vagina monitors the people of the state. That's the entity engaging what is criminal summoning, while they're all gang stalking together, okay? In that same manner, the entity's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and they're doing so pursuant to what is obsession with me and everything that I say about them while they're stalking me, and I'm prosecuting them. That's the significance of the United States Postal Service being inside of the building, sharing in what is monitoring my vagina, that they all worship while they're engaged in what is stalking. Stalking as an entity that is under what is indeed a fake sun. That's literally the evidence, even outside of what I said about the United States Postal Service. Understand that they're gang stalking under a fake sun. I could have said not a word today. The fake sun was over the entrance at 8. The fake sun is still outside of the entrance doors, and they're walking on impossible light that's on the inside of the building when you open the door. And it is 2:51 p.m. 3 hours ahead of us, 3 hours ahead of 8 o'clock would have been 11 a.m. and Florida should have seen the sun. And that would not be the case based on this asinine environment where you are clearly able to identify vagina monitors like the United States Postal Service. Okay? That's the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct, and they do so. So with regard to the entity that likes to follow the leader, you're going to federal prison as well, and you don't control those circumstances. But what they do decide to do is engage in more violence as it's documented, and that's exactly what I gave you before. The entity that's engaging in what is vagina monitoring, the entity that engages in what is replicating that as I documented it, engage in more molestation, harassment with impossible light, engage in what is stalking in helicopters, or whatever iteration of the pattern of conduct that I recite. This is the same thing that when I'm describing the fact that they engage in having sexual contact with minor children. They have sex with kids, they're pedophiles. Okay, that's the entity that is triggered by the truth, and they all engage in and are documented engaging in a pattern of that, which they are monitoring as I speak to the truth about what they do. This is why the entity is going to be separated from minor children. A gang stalker that's engaging in what is the unabated program of psychological torture, and the gang stalking system is inherently sexually violent, is a threat to minor children. And minor children that are subject to that predatory conduct are those in which they utilize dark psychology on as well, treating them as though they're imagining or that it's their fault or that it didn't even happen altogether when they're being sexually violated by the demon possessed who are gang stalking and monitoring my vagina. And then you're triggered by it and you engage in all manner of cooperative conduct, all of you together monitoring my vagina as one. Absolutely, the population is a threat to minor children, and that's going to be addressed, and that's being exposed. Okay, it's P.O.C. It's 2:53 p.m. You want to know who's trafficking children? It's Satan. It's the demon possessed. It's P.O.C.
All right, Aegis Drug Treatment Center, 10:09 p.m. The entity is engaged in what is surveillance, terrorism, stalking, lurking, menacing, and stalking with impossible light. This is what I'm capturing images of everywhere while the police are engaged in facilitation. License 9U. These cowards who are serial killers and vagina monitors press on the gas, but they like to touch all over your body and they like to keep you under surveillance. They just don't want you to know who they are. Just like the spirit of Satan. That's a threat. This is why the Ontario Police are being disbanded. Justice requires it. HJA68H. That's why the Ontario Police are being disbanded as well. The mental illness is exhibited in the environment, which is the evidence of monitoring me. They're mentally ill. That's why the Ontario Police are being disbanded, because they are mentally ill. 28279 Edward 4. And by the way, you cannot hear any train in the natural environment over here. I'm off of in the back parking lot of the Hensley Torta, and a demon's coming into this back parking lot. 9SQR523, and monitoring with them is this sex offender, a stalker. 9LXA857, and that's an Asian male, okay, a vagina monitor. Engages in what is gang stalking women in the middle of the night and further into murdering them. License 94374 Edward 4. License plate 9KCY134, 8 Apple Uncle Larry 180, P.O.C. It is currently I'm trying to see the time and I have gloves on. It's kind of difficult to manipulate the screen. 10:11 p.m. My shadow, two shadows to my right, a shadow right in front of me. That Asian male, he looks like he's about 4'7", sitting in that car, stalking in the middle of the night, doing so while the entity amplifies audible activity, showing you the entity that is stalking by commercial plane while I'm in the Arco parking lot, showing you that the Ontario police are stalking on, that is Euclid Avenue with light activity. They're doing so while the entity is using their lights. This is criminal summoning. And by the way, tomorrow, which is December 6th, the entity is, first of all, keeping the fake moon over me. Everybody is stalking me. The fake moon at nightfall and the entity, the fake shadow, not fake shadows, those are very real shadows and they're all over the ground. They're stalking me. Surveillance is underway while they are stalking me, indicated through a whole fake environment, speaking to the demon possessed who are stalking in that demonic environment, and shows whom they are all stalking. They are all stalking as and sharing in mental illness as well. Their mental illness is manifest through the demonic environment, including while you hear amplified audible activity. Guess what you are also listening to when they sound sirens? Amplified audible activity. Speaking to the necessity of disbanding the mentally ill, going by the name of the Ontario Police Department, who are using their lights on Euclid Avenue while a bunch of demons who are very sick are stalking with light. From every which corner, from all around me, from behind, every side, everywhere, stalking with light, touching me with light, coming out of nowhere, touching with light. They're very sick, mentally ill, and the very sick, and then they go into the bathroom stalking, okay? And they engage in this while they are in custody of children, okay? That unstable psychopath that is stalking is engaging in what is including children in that, and not only that, having custody of children. This is the entity that's engaging in that too. Again, I'm at 537 North Euclid Avenue at 10:13 p.m. This is P.O.C.